taking off like a Boeing. If the volume spikes, then it's time to trade. Mighty 90 setting up, it's time to get paid. Dr. Chad on the mic, time to get focused. We don't need any indicator, hocus pocus. It's all about the price, just watch it move. Manage your risks so you don't lose. First hour of trading is all we need. Focus on the patience and forget about greed.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's day trading live stream. Today is Thursday, and the date is February 20th. Pre-market S&P futures down 16, NASDAQ down 45, Russell down 7, Dow down 136. Gold and silver are green. Notes and bonds are up a little bit. 10-year yield down almost 0.5%. Oil's up almost 1. Natty gas down about 3. Grains are all green. Euro and the pound both up about 0.25%. Bitcoin up almost 2%. VIX is up 1.64 at the freeze, sitting at 15.52. I posted a little bit earlier as far as strong stocks. Alibaba had earnings. It is up above its expected move, which I have marked on my chart at about 133.5. Looks like it's going to open closer to 138. So I'll look for a potential long trade on there. I'm not just going to long out of the gate, but definitely want to have that on my radar. Baidu's also strong, and so is PDD. So all the Chinese stocks kind of riding Baba's coattails, it looks like. The chips are kind of mixed. Some are up, some are down. NVIDIA the strongest. I apologize for my voice today. I've got a little head cold going on. Ears aren't working. Nose isn't working. I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. It's 6 a.m. this morning. It was -9. Felt like -28 is what my weather app said. So not the nicest of weather here. PLTR and SMCI continuing lower after their little sell-off yesterday. So I'll be looking for weakness potentially in PLTR specifically. Carvana also had weak earnings. It's catching a little bounce pre-market back up to 265. My earnings butterfly would like back down to 250, a little bit better. As far as zero DTE stuff goes, or other non-day trading stuff, I've got a 1 DTE iron condor that'll fire, as well as I've got a couple double calendars I need to take off shortly after the open. Got the opening bell in 30 seconds. Got my coffee ready. There's the bell. Looks like we have an expected move in SPX today of about 21. Well, at 20.9. NDX expected move of about 98.5. Getting those marked on my other charts. VIX just had its opening tick. So gap up of 1.77. My 1 DTE should be firing here shortly. There it was, filled at 12 bucks. 12 even. So I've got a 2-3 and a 1-2 double calendar that will come off. One comes off at 8:35, one at 8:45 this morning. So here in the next few minutes. So, all right, as far as stocks go, we got Apple making a little push out of the open. Started off unchanged, pushed above yesterday's high. Meta staying weak. Tesla was green, turned red. Nvidia was acting strong leading up to the open, and now it is giving a lot of it back. Still slightly green. Carvana's coming back down. So I've got my main 8 stocks here on the board that you all see, and then I've got two other sets of 8 stocks that I kind of interchange depending on what's going on. In Netflix started off unchanged, now it's getting red. MSTR is getting stronger. It is just pushed above its pre-market highs. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin's now up 2%. And on the rise. Tesla falling hard. BABA pushing up above its pre-market highs. PLTR is weak. Just broke below its pre-market lows. Keep an eye on that one. That's bouncing back now a little bit. Amazon weak. Google and Amazon breaking below their pre-market lows. Coinbase kind of bouncing off of its pre-market lows. Goog trying to bounce. Watching Amazon. Some of these other stocks are bouncing. Amazon is not. AMD is now the strongest chip stock. So the two that I'm kind of focused on early here would be MSTR long and Amazon short. MSTR closed above its pre-market high. Amazon closed below its. I want to see a little bit more confirmation. Baidu and Baba still staying strong. Also want to keep an eye on Baba. Trading the 1 DTE options today. All right, Bitcoin strong. I'm going to get long MSTR here. 1 DTE options. Trading the 325 calls. 325 calls in MSTR, just not entering quite yet. Want to see what this bar does if it holds pre-market highs here. Bitcoin's dipping a little bit. Coinbase is bouncing. Hood is bouncing. Amazon popped back up. Baba. There goes Baba. All right, getting an MSTR. 325 calls filled at 710. Taking these pre-market high trades like this early, there's certainly a little bit more risk to it because sometimes you just get really whippy action at the open. But I'm looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's strong. Coinbase is up 1%. MSTR is the strongest. It's up 2.2. So based on those things, I like it. If I get a 5-minute close below that pre-market high, which is around the 325.6 level, then I'll just cut out. But now I got Baba and Baidu are pushing. Baidu, I got 30 seconds. It's close to a volume bar. Tesla's got a decent sized volume bar on the downside. I ended up getting 3 calls, Ken. So those buying power numbers are a ballpark, obviously, with a $600, $700 option for one. You got to kind of make the decision, either 2 or 3. Kind of bounced when I got filled, so I'm just now about even. I'm going to go ahead and put in an order to get out of one Well, I'll give it a minute. It's going to have to break highs of day to give me anything. Here, let me get this. Let me put it over on this screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So BABA, I'm not sure it's going to pull back to that pre-market high level for an entry, but if it does, I will get in BABA. PLTR holding below its pre-market lows. I'm going to take a short in PLTR using the 104 puts. $104 puts in PLTR. Trying to get filled. Filled at 301. 104 puts in PLTR. See if PLTR's got some more downside. Yeah, BABA and Baidu still ripping. MSTR, no follow through yet. PLTR is coming down. I'm going to put an order at 340. Wow, it already hit. I was trying to get a little bit lower, more towards the low of day, but all right, how to summon PLTR. AMD is holding above. Oh, AMD had a volume bar and it dipped above yesterday's high. I'm going to go ahead and get in AMD 116 calls. 116 calls in AMD. Filled at 121. All right, so MSTR is coming down. Got about 30 seconds left here, so might just have to cut that one. Wants to snap back up before we close here. S&P is weak. All right, closing out of MSTR. Filled at 530 to close MSTR. So AMD coming down close to, all right, so let me put AMD up here. AMD coming down close to the bottom of that bar that had the volume spike. So that would be my line in the sand. If we go much below that, I would exit. I went ahead and got in with full position size. If I didn't, I would potentially be adding a little bit here. But things are coming down. Let's see if this thing's going to hold. It looks like that was a good thing getting out of a little bit of PLTR, starting to bounce here. Still below its pre-market lows though. Just let it shake around there. AMD, are you really gonna flush on me? Yes, you are. I'm gonna give it a minute, see if it pops back up, but Robinhood falling hard, it's down 3.5%. Coin falling through yesterday's lows. Tesla weak. S&P almost down to its lower expected move already. All right, so AMD is bouncing back up to the low of that bar. See what give it a minute to the end of this bar, see where it closes. I would have liked to see PLTR through lows of day with this weakness in the overall market. Yeah, Carvana is coming back nicely. Yeah, I just did one as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in an order on that one. I'll close that at well, I'm gonna put in an order at 15 for now. All right, so AMD might want to stay in the ball game. NASDAQ getting weak. So it's right on the edge. I mean, it flushed below that bar and then it popped back up. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. Apple staying strong. Microsoft is strong. Put in an order to close some more PLTR at say $4.50. So it would, if it cracks below lows of day, would have a chance to hit that. AMD trying to pop back up a little bit. See if we can, if this market does a little flush and bounce. Let's see, is there any mighty 90s? You got NVIDIA, little Bit of a mighty 90. I would want to see it maybe flush through pre-market lows. Another extension. Coinbase had a big volume bar and it bounced a little bit towards pre-market lows. Bitcoin still green, but getting weak. Definitely take a downside volume runner in coin. Bob is staying strong. Just didn't have an entry. NDX tagging its lower expected move already. AMD is just kind of hanging on. Yeah, there goes coin. Yep. PLTR just hit 450. All right, AMD is on the verge of getting cut. Yeah, I'm getting out of AMD. Filled at 70. I mean, that thing just ripped up with volume past yesterday's high of day and then did not give any upside. NVIDIA coming down hard. A lot of things. S&P, NASDAQ coming down hard. Hood and Coin both had volume bars. See if we got any other mighty 90s setting up here. So I've still got a runner in PLTR. SMCI is pushing through yesterday's lows with a little volume pop. It's growing quickly. It may turn into a big volume bar higher than the first. NVIDIA, another volume pop. I'm going to take a mighty 90 in NVIDIA. Kind of got that second extension down I mentioned. 138 calls in NVIDIA. 138 calls filled at $1.75. Tesla had a little volume spike as well. If NVIDIA makes another flush lower below yesterday's low, I would consider adding. Google had a nice little volume spike as well. Just, careful with your position size here in case this thing is really wanting to run lower. S&P down 37, NASDAQ down 190. PLTR down 12%. I'm going to put an order to, I've got two PLTRs left. I'm going to put an order to close one at 7. Oh, wow, it's there. Oh, I didn't get filled though. All right, I've got an order at $7 to close another PLTR. I'm gonna put an order in NVIDIA to close half at $1.95. PLTR hit 7. Filled. Tesla's bouncing. Goog is not bouncing. NVIDIA is not really bouncing yet. Did have a little bounce off the bottom, but coming back down. S&P coming down to lows. NASDAQ coming through lows. Microsoft, which was strong, reversing down to lows of day. Apple now coming down into the red. AMD is red. It's getting bloody, kids. PLTR is dropping like a rock. I'm gonna let my last one run. Yeah, BABA is now back down to pre-market highs. Watching BABA. We'll see how it reacts here. Don't want to load up on longs too much with this kind of action. I'm in NVIDIA, and that's about enough for me right now. But I will jump in BABA if it holds this level right here at this 140.2-ish level. Ken, have a good day. NVIDIA coming back down. Let's see if it flushes yesterday's low. It's poking through. I'm position sized in NVIDIA to add here. I'd rather jump in BABA though. So I'm not going to add to NVIDIA. I'm gonna enter BABA. 141 calls in BABA. 141 calls in BABA. Ah, ran away. Get back here. Where do you think you're going without me? All right, I'm just going to leave that order. My order's sitting at 267. It's already above $3. Darn it. Darn. All right, I'm going to cancel that order for now. Missed it. I'll still get in if it comes back, but PLTR still staying weak. Let's see. I think I may have, yeah, I just got stopped on my 1 DTE. I saw something fill. Yeah, Baba coming back down a little bit. Oh, my Carvana filled at 15. Carvana butterfly. Nvidia is bouncing. Would have been a great ad. Still watching Baba. Baba is still kind of holding. I'm going to move my first profit target in Nvidia to $1.90. See if it can make another little push up and hit. That would have been a great ad. Still watching Baba. I want to see it maintain here. It's definitely not participating in this bounce. I don't really look at Baba as having correlation too much to the S&P or the NASDAQ necessarily, but getting some bouncing here. ELTR is bouncing. I've just got one lot left on that. Nvidia filled at $1.90. Netflix had a couple big volume bars, bouncing back up towards yesterday's low. All right. I'm going to get back in Baba, see if it's got another leg up. 141 calls in Baba. Filled at 221. Nvidia's rocking. Man, that would have been a nice ad. Okay, that's the last time I'll say that. AMD back in the green. Carvana cracked its post aftermarket lows from yesterday after earnings, down to 244. That little bounce is what filled me on that butterfly, though. SMCI bounced and is coming back down. Nvidia on that second bar bounce is kind of giving it back a little bit. I'm not going to go red on my Nvidia trade if it starts to come back down. Baba coming down a little bit. S&P, NASDAQ coming back down a little bit. I don't plan on re-entering my 1 DTE, maybe later, but I'll definitely wait for some calmness. I closed my 1 too. It's already posted. All right, Nvidia, I'm gonna go ahead and bail on the rest here. Filled at $1.69, so booked a small profit. I don't know if there was any news or not. I haven't looked. All right, so still holding a runner in PLTR, and I'm in Baba, and it's starting to break below my level. This bar's getting ready to close. I'll give it just a tiny bit of time, but if we continue any lower here, I'll bail. Tesla has, and on that little bounce, it had a big volume bar that ended red just because the candle stayed a little bit red, but coin had a bearish volume bar and then it bounced and had a bullish one. Bitcoin is still green. Yeah, now keep in mind with my BABA position, right? The market is weak, and I'm playing a pre-market high long in BABA, but it's also up 11%, and it's not, with earnings, all the Chinese stocks are up. So I'm looking more at China as kind of the index, not the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq. But I mean, it definitely came down with the overall market flush. Certainly not as much, but just keep that in mind. It's, these, taking longs off of pre-market highs are more ideal when the overall market is strong. But we'll see. We'll see if Baba can bounce here. All right, it's coming down. I'm going to go ahead and cut out of Baba. So I've just got my PLTR runner currently. So I've taken 3 losses: AMD, Baba, MSTR, and then small winner in Nvidia. Nice $1,100 so far winner in PLTR. So I'm down a little over 500 right now. No continuation on that volume runner in AMD. No continuation off the pre-market highs in Baba. No continuation off the pre-market highs in MSTR when Bitcoin was really strong. I mean, I like all those trades, but did not work today. Of course, the one short that I got is paying. All right, so Nvidia's bouncing around above yesterday's lows. Tesla's trying to bounce a little bit. Everything's trying to bounce a little bit. Microsoft trying to get back into green territory. Keeping my eye on Microsoft. It had that big day yesterday. And so if we can get back above yesterday's high in Microsoft, I'll look for a setup, potentially using yesterday's high as kind of a line in the sand. It's definitely stronger than a lot of the big boys. And I'll still be keeping an eye on Baba too. There's a lot of times where, like just happened, it'll close below my level, I'll cut out for a loss, and then it'll pop right back up, and I'll get back in. So cutting losses quickly, you can always re-enter if it kind of head fakes you out. So I'll keep an eye on that. Netflix, some big volume on that flush. Now it's bouncing back up to yesterday's lows. Getting some index bouncing, getting some stocks bouncing. MSTR is green. Bitcoin's still up 1%. Flushed right down to yesterday's high in Bitcoin futures. That's where it bounced. BABA is popping back up. See what it does for a minute before I get in. PLTR is also bouncing. I don't want to give too much back on my runner. Big bounce in Meta. Meta flushed through yesterday's low. At the open, came back down, retested that area, big bounce. Nvidia's popping back up. If anybody held it, you got your second green bar, or in my case, hollow bar. Looking for stocks that aren't really participating in this bounce. Carvana had a little bounce, but not much. SMCI is staying pretty weak. Goldman Sachs is staying really weak. Yeah, financial XLF is down. Regional banks are the weakest, retail weak. If PLTR doesn't roll over here, I'm gonna cut my last runner. So BABA couldn't hold back above that pre-market high level. I'd like to get potentially short a bank here, JP Morgan or Goldman. S&P and NASDAQ are bouncing back up towards the expected move area, which lines up pretty close to yesterday's low. Goldman and JP are not participating in this bounce. All right, I'm gonna take a short in JP Morgan using the JPM 272 half puts. $272 half puts filled at $1.36. I don't like that there's not really a good level to base it on to manage the risk around, but so what I want to see is if, this bounce stalls out in the S&P, I want to see JP Morgan flush. PLTR might need to cut my last runner. It's having quite a bounce. Yeah, you could try to wait for a bounce. I'm just looking at it from a relative strength standpoint. Like I talked about in the updated continuation runner. But we're getting the bounce in the index and we're not getting any bounce in the banks, which says relative weakness to me. Yeah, BABA came back down. It's getting a little weakness coming in on this bar on the indices. You can see JPM now. A little push through lows. I mean, if the S&P can get back to lows of day, that looks like the banks might really run lower. Goog chopping below yesterday's lows. Tesla below yesterday's lows. Some decent levels to manage risk off of if you want to take a continuation runner lower in any of these. I mean, Tesla's down 2.2%. The daily chart's just really been pretty chop last week or so. Google, same thing, pretty choppy sideways the last week. No hold for Baba, so Baba and Baidu coming down. PLTR is still bouncing here, so I'm gonna cut my last PLTR. Filled at 444. I'll put my first profit target in JP Morgan at $1.55, which doesn't really have to come down too much more to hit that. SMCI is holding below the pre-market lows. JP Morgan hit $1.55. See, that thing's just continuing to fall, and the S&P's sideways. We're just sitting there. So to your point, Dark Avenger, I was definitely a little bit more aggressive getting in there than I normally am. Usually I'm waiting for a bounce on something like that, but you know, the S&P and NASDAQ were kind of coming up towards key levels, and so I thought if those kind of roll over, then my assumption was the banks would as well. Goldman's pushing lower too. So I was definitely a little bit more aggressive in my entry on that. Microsoft back above yesterday's high. So on a relative strength basis, Microsoft is obviously very strong compared to the indices. So that would be one that I would consider a long in. I'd be using this blue line, yesterday's high, as my line in the sand. We'll see what it does here. Yeah, I wasn't trying to say that like I told you so or anything like that. I was just trying to articulate my thought process around it. I'll close another tranche of JP at, let's put it at $1.85 right now. See if this thing really wants to come down. That's close. One more little tick down. Yeah, it's bouncing a little bit. Kind of like a short in SMCI here. It's holding below yesterday's or the pre-market low. S&P, NASDAQ still bouncing a little bit. Microsoft still moving up. Didn't really give any kind of pause. Yeah, and I mean, look at this. Look at this relative action in JP Morgan had a little tiny bounce. The S&P and NASDAQ are bouncing. And then just now it's coming back down. Would love to see the S&P roll over here. I'm actually going to move my target on JP a little bit higher. Instead of $1.85, I'm going to do $1.95. Wouldn't take much of a move lower to hit it. Another bar like the last one. Carvana still chopping near the lows. MSTR chopping slightly green. Chinese stocks are still green. Metals, cryptos, healthcare, energy, real estate, green. Everything else red. Weakest sectors, financials, XLF, KRE, followed by retail. SMH is just barely red, so chips are holding up okay. JPM hit 195. I got a little dip in Microsoft. Meta's coming down a little bit. All right, getting a little downside now. Yeah, it is. I want to see like on this little dip in the Nasdaq and the S&P, I would have liked to seen Microsoft and didn't dip much, and it's getting bid up pretty quick here, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna give it a minute. I may miss it. If it takes off here, I'll miss it, but I may still get long Microsoft. But yeah, you definitely gotta be careful. The downside is not done. It's probably gonna drag everything with it. Goes Goldman and JPM. We've got three of the puts left in JP. Got out of my last one at what was it, $1.95? Yeah. Now they're trading at 230. Put in an order at 240 to close another one. $240 hit. So I've got two contracts left. See where this thing's gonna go. Bob back down to lows of day. That is a beautiful example of relative strength there with the financials compared to the index. Did I say relative strength? Well, I'll try to close another one at $3. Looks like it wants it. Hit it. Hit it. Hit it. $3 filled. All right, so I got one left. I closed mine. So Microsoft is definitely holding its own compared. It's pretty similar to the Nasdaq, I guess, over the last 10 or 15 minutes. Nvidia is still red, but it's not seeing any pullback here on this little index pullback. Apple is just falling asleep at unchanged. Baidu chopping around its pre-market highs. Also yesterday's high. Looking a little better than Baba now. I mean, Baba's still up 9%, but still watching Microsoft. I'm eyeballing the 417 half calls. JP's getting a little volume spike. I'm going to go ahead and exit my last JP. Oh, it's trying to bounce on me. Filled at 281 on that last one. All right, I'm going to get off here in a minute. I want to see what Microsoft does. I mean, Apple's holding up relatively well also. I mean, it's just unchanged, but it only had a couple down bars in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-ish, 7-ish down bars with the index. It's just not moving though. I want to see some movement. By the way, I've got something I'm going to share with you all. Lando's just putting in the final touches on it, but it's kind of a trade review document that I've been using just to kind of review trades, not only day trades, but really any trades. So I'll share that maybe today or tomorrow. It's something I've found valuable, and I think you guys will too. All right, still seeing a little rollover. Microsoft coming back down towards yesterday's high. I would have liked to see it hold up a little better. Wow, Carvana cracking lower. Carvana's now down 15%. Well, for a pretty tough day of trading, I'm currently down $73. So not too shabby. S&P looking like it may want to go down to lows of day here. Microsoft trying to buy up the dip. Tesla rolling over off of yesterday's lows. Netflix rolling over. AMD pushed through lows of day. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan both at lows of day. All right, I'm going to get long Microsoft here. 147 half calls. Filled at 205. Now, if this market just absolutely flushes, Microsoft is probably going to go down some with it, but if it pauses or bounces, Microsoft could fly. This is definitely in the whole relative strength concept that I've been talking about. This is definitely a little bit of a riskier play here with the weakness that we're seeing. So just keep that in mind. AVGO cracking through yesterday's lows. Walmart. I forgot to look at Walmart. Oh yeah. Walmart's down 6%. That's why retail is down. Nvidia's rolling over. I like how Microsoft's holding up so far. Dark Avenger, I thought you had been trading today. Didn't you just say you were long Microsoft? and Baba? Oh, you're saying Chad was lucky to be MIA? Gotcha. Microsoft's holding up well. I like it. I like it. Now we just need the market to cooperate. Depends on what your filter is, Abosh. An overnight filter is exactly what it says. It's based on overnight. If you're saying a down 1% filter from the open, then it's based on your time of entry. Wherever it's at, based on your time of entry. Does that make sense? VIX creeping up to 16.5. Meta heading back towards lows. Microsoft, it wants to bounce. It's just being held down. You know how some people just hold you back in life? Microsoft's being held back right now by the market. It can just shake the haters off. It's going to fly. Banks staying weak. AMD staying weak. SMCI is still chopping around its pre-market lows. It's not participating in this little down move. Apple's trying to stay green. S&P is down 54. NASDAQ is down 240, a full 1%. Russell is the weakest, down 1.5%. A lot of regional banks in the Russell. Dow's down 1.25%. So the S&P is the least weak Yeah, I don't necessarily know the reason. I was kind of scanning financial juice. I mean, there's some consumer confidence. We got Goolsby talking, but I mean, they've just kind of they opened or JP Morgan opened unchanged almost to the tick and just never caught a bid. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Some EU consumer confidence numbers, some other Ukraine news. S&P and NASDAQ still moving lower. Microsoft still holding. Apple, little bounce. S&P coming to lows of day. Nvidia coming towards lows. Google rolling over. AMD is bleeding. Microsoft seeing a little glimmer of a bounce. He wants to take off. See how I talk to it, Dark Avenger? Got to talk to it. You got to nurture it. There you go, Microsoft. Knew you could do it, little buddy. See that? Encouraging words. Apple and Microsoft. Little bounce up and they're moving. All right, I'm going to put in an order at first profit target 250, which is highs of day. Beautiful. Beautiful bounce. Yeah, I don't know if I would be an SMCI. I mean, it didn't participate in that downside. I probably would have cut that if I got in that one short. I would have wanted it to see, I mean, look at what NVIDIA did. Look what the market did. Look what AMD did. MU even, and SMCI didn't. So I'd be cutting out of that one. JP still at lows. Microsoft need a little more pop out of you. Apple's still pushing. A little more bounce out of the market. Apple may be another one to consider here. It's pushing up towards yesterday's highs. It's definitely acting the strongest now. I'm not going to get in both Apple and Microsoft, but it's acting really well to the long side. Microsoft profit target is at 250. It's trading at about 235. A little pop up to highs of day. Bitcoin's still bouncing around above yesterday's high. I think it's just been so sideways for the last 2-3 weeks. Nvidia trying to bounce off yesterday's lows. Apple pushing above yesterday's highs. Come on, Microsoft. You got this. You got it. One more little tick up through highs of day. NASDAQ putting together a couple of green 5-minute bars. S&P trying. Apple's moving. That's what I needed Microsoft to do. Have to use the restroom, but I need Microsoft to hit so I can end the live stream. Wow, JP Morgan, another leg down. Apple almost got up to highs of day. Maybe. It could be Watson. PLTR rolling back over a little bit. I sold my last runner right at the top of that bounce. That was good timing. All right, come on, Microsoft. Come on, Softy. So you got to give them nicknames sometimes. Call Microsoft Softy. He likes that. Yeah, or maybe like a catheter or something fast, right? Microsoft hit 250. Had a baby. All right. So before I leave here, I'll put in another profit target of, well, I'm going to put in $3. I'll just watch it and adjust accordingly. But I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I'm currently up $275 on the day. That is how you go from red to green. Don't panic. Don't revenge trade. Stick with the program. That's how it's done, kids. All right, all. I got to run. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.